Welcome to the Siblings Movie Reviews Podcast. I am your host, Rashad. Joining me, as always, is my sister, Richauna.
Hello, everybody.
And my wife, Mika.
Hey, hey.
For all the new listeners, all the new viewers, we want to say welcome and thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
All the returning listeners, all the returning viewers, we want to encourage you to like, subscribe, and follow us on our Facebook page. All right. Today, we are reviewing the movie Barbie. It is currently showing in theaters. This is going to be a non-spoiler reaction plus a full spoiler review. Barbie is starring Margot Robbie as Barbie, Ryan Gosling as Ken. Also starring as Barbie is Issa Rae as President Barbie, Kate McKinnon as Weird Barbie, Alexandra Shipp as Writer Barbie, and Dua Lipa as Mermaid Barbie. Also starring as Ken is Simu Liu, Kingsley Bin-Aldir, and John Cena. Also starring in this movie, this is a big cast, Cera as Allan, America Ferrera as Gloria, Rhea Pearlman as Ruth, Will Ferrell as the Mattel CEO, and Helen Mirren as the narrator. It is directed by Greta Grewig. Brief summary of the plot. Barbie suffers a crisis that leads to her questioning her world and her existence. There was a lot of hype on this film. We didn't see it opening weekend. We saw it the second weekend, and we went on a Wednesday, and the theater was sold out.
Yeah, it took me 15 minutes to park.
Yes, which is odd for a Wednesday, which I think the Barbie Oppenheimer or the Barbenheimer deal is why I think this theater was sold out on a Wednesday. I looked at several show times and I couldn't get a seat on most of them, and then I found one at a certain time and I was like, oh, we might as well get this because all the other show times aren't available. So the hype on this movie is definitely real. There was a huge marketing campaign. They spent a lot of money to market this movie. Mattel spent a lot of money. The studio spent a lot of money. They made toys for all the main Barbies in the movie. They made a bunch of merchandise, a bunch of new Barbie dream houses, figures, etc., etc. So they put a lot of money behind this movie. Like I said, we had the opportunity to see it in the second weekend, so this has been a box office record-breaking opening for this movie at $155 million, which is the highest opening for this year in 2023.
Yeah, and that was the last count, right? It's
right.
Probably more than that.
Yeah, it's probably more than that
as
now.
of now.
Along with Oppenheimer and several other movies, it also broke the record for having multiple movies hit, I think, at least 80 million, because that's never happened before. So it's breaking a lot of records. So this movie, it's a very feminist movie, and I think that in the interview that I watched with Margot Robbie and Greta Gerwig, they said Barbie has always been like a feminist icon. So as a straight male, I don't think this movie was made for me, obviously, but it wasn't a bad movie. I did laugh at certain parts, but for most of the movie, I was just confused. And I'll talk about a little bit more of my feelings in the spoiler section, but yeah, this is definitely not a movie for me. So, Mika.
It's one of those, I guess, definitely a girly movie for sure. I mean, first and foremost, my favorite color is pink. P-I-N-K. So, just seeing all the color pink and everything was just like right up my alley for sure. I guess the movie kind of took me by surprise a little bit because just from the previews that I have seen, I haven't seen all the previews, but the previews that I did see, I kind of wasn't expecting how the movie played out. I guess I was expecting something different for this movie. The Barbie movie had a message, we'll just say that. And I didn't even know that Issa Rae was in this movie. The previews that I seen, I didn't see her in it, so I was surprised to see her. I like the opening, the song with Lizzo, Pink. I thought that was a good choice, so I was assume that they either specified that for this movie or whatever, but
Yeah,
it was
she made
cool.
it for
So
them.
some of the actors that I enjoyed, like Margot and then Ryan Gosling. You know, I've seen Margot in Suicide Squad, so seeing her in this light was definitely a little bit different for sure.
Right.
Just her whole look all together. Ryan Gosling, you know, we've seen him from our beloved The Notebook, and that love story, and
the
then
movie he was nominated for.
I don't know, but the one I loved the most was Gray Man. I mean, I thought he played
Gray Man. I never heard of that.
Yeah, we watched that. Come on now.
Gray Man.
I think they would have called.
I don't know what that is.
Hold on, y'all. Let me get my facts straight. But I'm pretty sure it was a Gray Man.
The Great Man.
Yeah, the Gray Man.
Oh. Did that come out? Was that on? Was that
watched
in the
it on
theater?
Netflix last year.
Oh, we watched it on Netflix. Oh, okay.
Anyway, I thought he was really good. That was an action-packed movie. You know, I love action, so that was a good movie. We've gotten to see him in different character types over time. So seeing him in this movie in a different type of character was different, for sure, for the movie that it was. So overall, I thought it was a cute movie. And I'll just leave it at that because we're not spoiling right now.
Okay, Shauna.
Yeah, cute is my word. Cute and fun. I am a Barbie girl. I grew up in the Barbie era. Barbie is one of the reasons why I love fashion, why I love shoes. Like, I grew up with all the Barbies. I had the stereotypical Barbie. I had ethnic Barbies. I'm a Barbie girl, so I was hyped for this. Like Mika, I really didn't know what the story was going to be, but I was pleasantly surprised. It was a fun and cute movie, and yeah, it did have a message, and I liked the story. I liked the way they did the story. There were some things that could have been different, but, you know, overall, it was a great movie. I had a lot of fun. And the packed audience that we had, everybody was pretty quiet. You know, they were not as vocal, but even on the day that we went, there were people that was dressed in their pink. They had their tutus on. I'm a Barbie girl, so I have several Barbie shirts. This is not the only one I have. Like, I have the pink one, but most of the Barbie stuff I have are ethnic Barbie. So, you know, my Barbie's got afros because it represents me. So I loved it. It was a good film, and it was a lot of fun. And they took the story in a direction that I really was kind of unexpected. So, but overall, it was fun. It was cute, and I enjoyed it.
All right. So now we're going to go into our spoiler sections. For those people, again, who do not want the movie spoiled, we're going to give you a fair warning. 3, 2, 1. We're now in the spoiler section. You have been warned, so let's talk about spoilers. Again, I talked about the hype on this movie. It was outrageous. Now, this movie reminded me a lot of a mix between Toy Story and the Lego Movie and a little bit of Pinocchio, because the plot was basically her becoming a real girl, which kind of threw me off a little bit. But, you know.
That's funny that you go back to those movies. I actually saw references to The Wizard of Oz. You know, coming of age.
Oh yeah, it's definitely coming of age.
Pink, they had the pink brick road, which I loved.
Oh,
I love the pink brick road. I'm sorry, we were in spoilers now, but I love the pink brick road.
Yeah, so the hype on this rivaled like a Star Wars movie or an Avengers movie, and I really didn't get it. And after I watched it, I still didn't get it. It just let me like...
You're used to action and you're used to superheroes. And for a lot of people, Barbie is a superhero. She's very versatile. Like, I really love the beginning of the film, how, you know, at the dawn of civilization...
Yeah, they stole that from 2001: A Space Odyssey.
Yeah, somebody else referenced that movie as well.
Right.
But yeah, you know, they started out saying that before Barbie, there were just dolls that were, you know, matriarch. You know, the it was setting up a little girl to be matriarchal.
Yeah. Where
she would be the mother of a baby, and the dolls were just babies. Mm. But when Barbie came along, this model-esque body and this stature, you know, it changed the game, and it literally did change the game.
I agree with that.
And it led women to empower them. You know, in the 60s, I think, is when Barbie really started to become more commercial and mainstream.
Yeah.
You know, with television becoming what it is become.
Yeah.
And you know, there were commercials with her, and you know, it empowered women to know and be whatever they wanted to be. And so then there were spin-offs of different types of Barbies because of that. And you know, in the film they talk about the stereotypical Barbie, but when it's my turn, I'm sorry, I kind of hacked into yours.
No worries.
Yeah, we'll talk more about, you know, what my take was.
I had a lot of questions in the beginning of the movie because I was just trying to figure out what the plot was. And what I did enjoy is that they kind of bought into the ridiculous plot, but I still just was like, what is this movie? And I was confused because it was so hyped and so critically acclaimed, but I was just like lost. And there was some adult humor that really I was confused about. Like, what is a beach off? What is that? I don't. They made that joke several times in the movie, but I still don't have no idea what a beach off is.
Yeah, I'm not gonna touch it. I don't know either.
Like,
I mean, my mind went to dance off, like a battle kind of battle.
Which
thing.
they did have a dance battle, which I'll get into later. But yeah, I was confused by some of the humor, by some of the whole plot of the movie never made sense. And what really got me, this is all the beginning of the movie, is when they went into the real world. They explained it to you, but it still made no sense to me. They was like, you get in the car, hop on the plane, hop on the boat. And I'm like, well, how does that get you into the real world? I mean, okay, if you want to make up some multiverse type thing, which we've seen 100 times already, fine. But make it make a little sense. Just yada yada, we going, hop on the boat, hop on the plane. That's how you get to the real world? Come on, what is that about?
Well, they're putting together
Yes,
fiction and
I get
real
that.
life,
And I'm a fan of
it doesn't
sci-fi.
always make sense.
And I'm a fan of sci-fi. I mean, I'm a Marvel fan, and to people that aren't Marvel fans, the multiverse makes no sense to them, which is fine. But at least if you're gonna build a world, you know, have some kind of logic. Because it was just like they just yada yada to how they got to the real world. And then the other thing that threw me off. Okay, so they're in the toy world, Barbie land, and they're supposed to be toy size because they reference there's a little girl playing with them in the real world, so they're actually toy size. They actually show you the video of Weird Barbie where the girl is cutting up her hair and put writing on her face, but then they get in the real world and they're human sized. It was a lot of things in the beginning that really threw me off. And again, another thing that was like, okay, now they're in the real world and they're in California, but somehow in California of all places, they stand out just because they're wearing weird outfits. And then somebody calls the FBI and say, oh, your toys are running around. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah. I mean, some of the stuff probably, didn't make sense in certain things, but I mean, look at it for what it is. It's a Barbie movie,
yeah,
right?
And it's for entertainment.
It definitely is for entertainment.
And they made a
girls.
whimsical, fun-filled story for a girl, for anybody. I won't limit it. It's for anybody.
That's why I say
to be drawn into.
Mm-hmm.
That's why I say this movie obviously wasn't for me, which it did get better at a certain part, which I'll talk about later. But yeah, these are my just initial spoiler thoughts that I had. So go ahead, Mika.
Yeah, so like I said, it's a girly movie. The pink for me is captivating just because that's my favorite color. I'm drawn to it, all the good things, right? But in regards to the movie itself, I mean, like I said before, it ended up driving into having a message. And I think for little girls all the way up to women and, whoever it is that you are, that you claim to be, I mean, I think the message was trying to empower. I think a lot of times we as little girls, I'm only speaking for myself for sure. It's like, you're taught, growing up, you, like Rashad said, you have the baby dolls, you have the Barbies, you get to dress them up and, teaching them how to be a wife, and the easy bake oven and cooking, and doing dress up and doing hair and all the things, and the different outfits and trying to feel beautiful. Everything in her world was just like perfect. Like she woke up perfect. Everything is in its right place, and life is just good. They didn't have any type of worries about anything. And then when she started to malfunction, Houston, we got a problem, because now she's not perfect anymore. Something's wrong with her feet, and she's feeling insecure because things are not looking perfect the way that she normally has them in her world. And so she's trying to figure out how can she get back to being Miss Perfect, basically. And so it ends up, being, her being connected to some little girl in the real world, and her having to go back to the real world to try to encourage this little girl so that she can get back to her rightful place, to her reality. And then, this connection that she has when she gets to the real world, she's thinking that her eyes pinpoint to this one girl, but it ends up being the girl's mom.
Yeah.
And the mom, of what she went through as a little kid, and what Barbie was for her.
Yeah.
And she began to have all these different emotions of depression and sadness and all of that, which is what was making the Barbie and the Barbie world, be kind of dysfunctioned and all of that. So they were kind of trying to connect those pieces together. But Barbie was like the hero for that mom, and that mom was a little girl. And then it was like, once Barbie had brought the mom and the daughter back to Barbie land, to Barbie world, she was trying to show her this perfect world of what her house looks like, but then came to the realization that it wasn't perfect, because Ken made the whole world to be kind of like basically around the men. And then that mom ended up getting empowered and trying to encourage Barbie, because Barbie got all depressed and just like, life is just over and all of that. But Barbie was like a hero for the mom. So they were, so as that mom was starting to get empowered, she was trying to encourage Barbie and encourage the other Barbies, because they were just doing what they do. And it's like, they were all like business women and doctors, and they had professional fields that they were
leaders.
All the things. And it was like, you're not just this woman who's just supposed to be perfect, or this little girl who's supposed to be perfect. Like, no matter what it is that you do or who you are, like, you're beautiful, and you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to be in this box of what people say that you're supposed to be, these statistics or these different things, to where you feel like I have to be this way or else, or I'm going to be rejected, or I'm not going to, feel good about myself because I'm not liked, because I'm not in this cute little box that you can put a bow on it and say, I'm a perfect gift. I have flaws, but I'm still the bomb.com, honey. You know what I'm saying? Like, learning to feel that way about yourself, to where you can feel like, okay, I can spread my wings and be who I am and love myself in all my imperfections. And I feel like that was kind of honing in on what the point of the movie was kind of trying to get to, the message wise, for little girls and women to learn to believe in yourself and love yourself. And you don't have to be this perfect doll in every aspect of your life, where you don't make mistakes or nothing goes wrong, because life happens, you know what I'm saying? But love yourself through all of that. So that was the basic message that I got from the movie. So I thought it had a good message overall. I just thought it was cute.
Okay, Shauna.
So, but Barbie, the story of Barbie, the way the story was laid out in the movie, follows a basic formula. So there's an introduction where we come into Barbie's world. Yeah. And it was literally called Barbie's World. And I loved Barbie's World.
Barbie Land.
Barbie Land, okay. Yeah, Barbie World, Barbie Land, Disney World, Disneyland. Anyway, so we are shown the Barbie dream house. I really love that they went this direction of taking us into Barbie's world, because we've sang about Barbie girl, being a Barbie girl in a Barbie world. We've looked up to Barbie. Yeah. Barbie is iconic over generations. The introduction reminded me of after the house falls in The Wizard of Oz, as we follow Dorothy on the yellow brick road, and she's on her path. It reminded me of that. We follow Barbie on her journey, back to reality, and the transitions were really good. Like I said, the introduction was, we see the world, we find out we go through Barbie's day, everybody saying hi to her. We meet Ken at the beach. He's a beach, dude. He don't get in the water, but he's a beach dude. And then the day 2 is just like the day one, except that there are changes. She finds out her breath is bad. Her shower is cold. She burns a waffle. She's got expired milk in her cereal. Her heels are no longer arched, and that used to be a thing, for Barbie to have arched feet because her heels were arched because that's how she was able to get into shoes. And so, most of the shoes early on, especially in the 80s and 90s when I had Barbies, they were all arched to match Barbie's feet.
Yeah.
I was a big fan of the shoes overall. I was so excited when I was a little girl when I went into an Osco Drug. Some of y'all on the West Coast know about Osco Drug. They don't have them here no more. But I was a little kid, went into the Osco Drug, and they had nothing but shoes. They didn't have no clothes. It was just all her shoes. I begged my grandpa to buy me this because I wanted just them shoes. And so he did buy me the shoes, and then I just paired them with whatever clothes I already had. But anyway, so her feet was always the issue because they were made to fit into these stiletto shoes that she had. Yeah. But in the movie, her feet goes to being flat, and so there's an indication there's something's wrong. And so in comes Kate McKinnon's Weird Barbie, and I didn't even get until like in the middle of the end of the movie that Weird Barbie was meant to represent those of us who kind of mishandled Barbie, and I was one of those that cut their hair, and I didn't ever paint on them or nothing, but I liked to do hair when I was a little girl, so I was cutting and curling and melted. I used a real curling iron on my Barbie's hair and melted her plastic straight off. And my daddy said, "What you cooking up in your room?" It was Lord. Me cooking off the hair of my Barbie. Real story. You probably don't remember. My daddy probably don't remember that, but I did that. I melted her hair off. And so I don't know what it was at a certain age where we just got curious to where Barbies would walk around, completely clothless. Yeah. And, we find her she was in the back of my closet, just helpless, like completely stripped and hair was melted off. Yeah, so anyway, Kate McKinnon's Weird Barbie was to represent the girls who had Barbies, who disfigured them, or did weird things to their Barbies. And I believe the reason why we did that was just a curiosity and exploring, trying to understand ourselves as we were trying to understand the toy that we had.
That's interesting.
So then we're introduced to her, and she tells the stereotypical Barbie, that perhaps there's somebody in the reality that's causing her to have these feelings and emotions that she had never had before. And so she starts to cry, and then, Kate McKinnon, who I love, by the way, I love her as much as I love Will Ferrell. They are my favorite SNL characters. Alums, yeah. They are, whenever they were on the show, I only watched for them because they were just hilarious as all get out. And so Kate Weird Barbie tells stereotypical Barbie, you need to go into the real world, which is what led them to go to California and walk down Venice Beach, one of my favorite beaches. And, they're walking along the boardwalk or whatever, and, they're finding out how reality is, that, it's a patriarchal world. Women are objects and viewed as objects, unfortunately. She's not praised and pedestaled for all of the good deeds that, Barbie's intentions were. And I really like that part of the story is that they were telling us, Mattel probably worked really hard with the script writers on this movie to say, we want to explain to people the reason why Barbie was created and what our intentions were. Barbie was meant to empower. She was meant to inspire and uplift, and there were issues even color-wise with, the transition from her being other ethnicities. But it did happen. And so they wanted to explain their side, and they did it. I think they did it through the script. Their intentions were to empower and to uplift women. And so then, in the reality world, they find out, Barbie and Ken find out that things are complete opposite of the way they are in Barbie world. Yeah. And then they run into the daughter. Actually, Gloria is the mom and Sasha is the daughter. Barbie ends up going to school, and she's being told this long drawn out thing about, how Barbie set things back, and and Sasha went in on her and had Barbie crying, and then the FBI calls the Mattel worker. He was alerting them that she had gotten loose from Barbie World, and then they tell the story that Skipper had gotten loose and was down in Florida trying to be real, or trying to live in the reality, and it didn't work, and they end up finding her, and so they called it a portal. Basically, getting back to Barbie Land was a portal. So I really liked, the references, and others have called out the references, but I recognized the Wizard of Oz. And like I said, I loved seeing the pink road, how it led into Barbie World. There was a song that Barbie had that she sang. And then it flips the script to Ken getting a dose of how, male-driven the world is, the real world is. And then he tries to take that back, and he successfully takes that back into Barbie World. So while Barbie is away, stereotypical Barbie is in California, he goes back to Barbie Land and just takes over everything. And he gets this close to a vote, but the girls figure out how to make the Kens, turn on themselves. And then it goes back to Barbie World. And Issa Rae, who I love, she is the president, basically, of the Barbie World. And they're able to overturn the Kens. And Ken had this, he done came and set up shop in Barbie's house. And he done renamed it. He done got a saloon in there.
He called it something dojo.
He called it Kingdom. That was funny. He called
it something dojo or something.
He did. It was Kingdom Saloon, which he had the saloon walls.
Yeah, the doors.
The saloon doors in Barbie's house. And then he called it Mojo Dojo Casa House.
Yeah.
Which is just a bunch of different ways of saying house.
Mojo Dojo Casa House.
And then he ends up singing his favorite song is Matchbox 2020 Push. And, the words of that song say, I want to push you around. Well, I will. And it was a popular song in the 90s. And I had forgotten, but I guess in La La Land he sang too.
Oh, yeah, he could sing for real.
Yeah, he was, I was like singing.
He sung in other movies too.
Yeah, I love this man. I love me some him. But then he also sang his own song. And I said I was going to go back and watch that video. I haven't watched the video of the actual song, but I liked his song. In the end was kind of weird too. I was so happy to see Will Ferrell as Mr. CEO of Mattel. He was weird. His character was kind of weird. Like, he was for the girls, but it didn't really come across as authentic to me. I've seen Will in much he did a good job, but he
was an extended cameo to me.
Yeah, I guess that's a good way of saying it. And then Rhea Pearlman from we grew up in the 80s, so Cheers, must see TV Thursday nights. Y'all know I'm a different world freak, and the Cosby, and so I was so happy to see her. But she's the actual inventor, and her name is, her last name is Handler, but I think her first name is Ruth Handler, who is the inventor of Barbie. And Barbie, which I did not know this, was to be patterned after her daughter, Barbara. And so we see Rhea as Ruth Handler early on in the movie, but it's kind of not told to us why.
Right. They almost did like a Matrix moment.
Yeah, they did. They said, so they basically said Ruth lived in this room somewhere in the Mattel building, and Barbie kind of stumbles up in this room and she meets her. And we're not told, why she's meeting her or why this woman is significant until the very end. And they tied it together. But I think it could have been tied together a little bit better. Yeah. And so the way the story ends is that Barbie wants to become human, which is kind of...
Yeah, the ending lost me.
Yeah, I'm like, okay, because she no longer feels this attachment, or this connection to Ken, which we never really got that they were... They were just paired just because she had a counterpart.
And I thought that was a misrepresentation, because it's like Ken was saying, it's always Barbie and Ken, but I guess Barbie felt a different way, and I thought that was the wrong choice.
Like, she really wasn't interested in him, to be honest. Like, she was kind of like in her own world, and he was so like display like he was in love with her, wanted to be around
like
her.
His whole world was her.
Yeah, right.
I mean, she just looked at him.
Kinda like,
yeah,
but I don't want you to be here.
Yeah.
You know, like.
And so they end up not being together, and she wants to become human. And, you know, she comes back into the real world, decides she wants to live in the real world, and her name is now Barbara Handler. Mm-hmm. She goes by her full name. And she goes to see the gynecologist of all things. Because there's a gag in the middle of the movie that her and Ken don't have sexual organs.
Yeah.
And so I thought
genitalia.
They didn't have genitalia. And so now as a real person, she could believe it all along like Dorothy. Yeah. And so she willed herself by believing that she could be human and she was going to live her life out. You know, there was an obsession with death, which is also what tied Gloria to Barbie. And it caused Barbie to have emotions. She's a doll, and she's a stereotypical Barbie who's the idol and the symbol. But it's interesting how they tied it together with emotions. Yeah. So I thought for what they were trying to deliver to us, it was a decent story. And they did their best to tie up the loose ends, tie up all the connections, all the people that they introduced in the film to give them purpose and meaning. And, you know, I thought it was a good story. Like I said, it was fun. It was fun to go into theater in midweek and see people dressed up. There was a box in there. And Mika talked about the box and not being in the box. But actually, I saw the replica of the Barbie box in the theater, and I wish I would have taken a picture in it.
Oh yeah, they did have a little photo op.
That you could do photos in, because it's symbolic of, you know, being able to go into the store. And back in the day, you can go into Walmarts or, you know, whatever big box store you had in your area, because there wasn't always Targets in every location. I like how they tied everything together. It was a neat little whimsical, you know, nostalgic type of story.
Okay. I think that this kind of reminded me a little bit of Megan, and I just say, and I say that because I say that just for the little bit
of the doll aspect
of the doll aspect, because they were basically, when you, it was her name Gloria, of how they connected Barbara and Gloria. That's, you know, when Gloria having those depressing feelings. Barbie, you know, Barbie, she felt that. She picked up on that. And when you go back to the movie Megan that came out, you know, it was like that doll was like conditioned, programmed kind of like to feel what the human child felt. And so they had like a connection going on. So that just kind of brought me back to that, like the doll is to be there to be inspirational, but also to kind of connect to its owner, if you will.
Yeah, good point. That's a good point. Yeah, and I didn't think about that, but that's right. It was women became connected, and not just women. Sorry that I keep just emphasizing women, but people became connected to that doll. Yeah. And, you know, it was cool how they tied that to feelings. And that was the connection that led Barbie to want to be Barbara Handler.
All right, we'll wrap it up and go around the room and give our final thoughts and our rating. I'll go first. Again, I don't want to be negative on this movie, but a lot of it, I just was lost. It didn't make a lot of sense. But there was a point that did change the movie for me, and that was Gloria's speech, who is played by America Ferrera.
Yes.
I thought her speech was the entire point of the movie. What she said was the thing that kind of tied it together in my mind. And I was like, okay, there's the point of the movie. Because before that, I was just like, they got this one wrong. I was like, this movie is not good. But Gloria's speech is really, really the turning point in the movie. And also, some of the plot points got a lot better. I mean, Ryan Gosling really stole the movie.
He was outstanding. I'm telling you, his song was so good.
His song, and then
the way he played Ken.
Yes. Yeah. Well, you know, I don't totally agree with. I think that he was kind of like the villain of the story, which making the men or Ken's the villain of the story is very feminist. Now, for some women, men might be the villain in their story, but I don't think that's representative of all women. No, so that was very feminist to me. So I didn't agree with that. But I thought he played that role exceptional. I loved when he turned full heel he just went all in.
Yeah,
and
he did. He's
loved it.
amazing actor.
Yes.
I've always been a fan of his.
Yeah.
Like there's this point where the Barbies pit the Kens between each other, and they have like a little dance battle. That whole scene was hilarious.
Yeah, it was.
I was like, okay, the movie is funny. It's not just
And they outfits
you
and
know.
all that.
Yes.
Along with
Right.
everything.
Yes. Now, for me, that just needed to focus a little on the shoes a little bit more because, like I said, I'm I'm of the Barbie and the Rockers and Jim
Oh,
and
wow.
Jim.
Jeez.
And that
you are dating yourself.
Yeah.
All right. Well, another one of the standout performances, obviously, Gloria played by Ferrera, Ken played by Ryan Gosling, and then Helen Mirren. I thought she did a great job as the narrator. I wanted more of her. I wish she would have had more, because she's like saying like kind of quippy stuff in the background. I was like, oh yeah, that
Yeah, what
was
that part she
funny.
said about Margot Robbie.
Yeah. So I was like, yeah, Helen Mirren was great. I enjoyed Issa Rae. She had this one-liner that was hilarious.
Yeah, and to me, it's representative of she's just a bad A chick.
Yeah,
And
I love Issa Rae.
I love
She's
her.
amazing.
She is so amazing.
Yeah. So for that reason, I think I'll give it a 2. Again, it just didn't work for me. Like I said, time and time again, this movie is not for a person like me. So, of course, I probably wouldn't like it. But yeah, I didn't get the hype at all. So 2 for me. Mika?
Like I said, I thought it was a cute movie. Loving the pink. I think out of all the silliness and, I thought the music choices were pretty good. Like I said, I enjoyed Lizzo's music in the beginning. I thought that was cool. It was just like a fun, girly movie, to be honest. But I think overall, I guess getting to the point of the movie, of all the encouragement that they were trying to display, to, talk to anybody who may be struggling with their identity or who they are as a person and feeling like they have to have it together all the time, and then to get empowered and to know that it's okay if you can't cross every T and dot every I. I think that the message was very powerful and just very encouraging alone. So to me, I think I would give this movie, I would say a 3.5. It was just cute to me. So.
Okay. Shauna?
Yeah, same for me in terms of rating. I would give it a 3.5. Because like I said, it was a bit of nostalgia for me. It was fun. It was cute. People came out dressed up in the middle of the week, y'all, with they pink
They
on.
sure did. I forgot about that.
And, when I was walking out of the theater and the girl see me with my pink Barbie shirt on, she said, "Did you see the film?" I was like, "Yes, I did. I loved it." And we kind of bonded for a little second there. And so I think girls all over the world are going to appreciate this. I love the music of this film. The soundtrack was really great with Nicki Minaj at the end singing the Barbie girl song, but she rapped to it.
Yeah.
Everybody knows, "I'm a Barbie girl." And Lizzo's song in the beginning was really great. Like I said, I really liked Ken's song in the middle. They did a good job with the song choices. The story was neatly packaged. There was an intro. There was a problem. The problem was addressed throughout the film, and then it was resolved at the end. And so I think it had a formula, and it was whimsical. It was fun. It was cute. I enjoyed it. 3.5.
All right. Well, if that's it, thanks again for listening. Thanks again for watching.
Thank you, guys.
To all our followers, to all our listeners, to all our new followers, to our new listeners. Welcome. And we appreciate you. Thanks for joining us. And with that being said, see you soon.